November 3rd, 2019. Bakersfield, California. 9:47 p.m. Temperature, 43 degrees and dropping. The fluorescent lights of Martinez Auto Repair flickered one last time before Rosa Delgado flipped the switch, plunging the garage into darkness. Her hands calloused, scarred, stained with motor oil that never fully washed out no matter how hard she scrubbed ached from a 12-hour shift. Her feet throbbed in steel-toed boots that were 2 sizes too big, hand-me-downs from her late husband that she'd stuffed with extra socks to make them fit. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. She locked the front gate, the heavy chain rattling in the cold November wind, and turned toward her 2004 Ford Focus parked in the shadows of the corner lot. The car had 187,000 miles on it. The check engine light had been on for 3 months. She'd fix it eventually, when she had time, when she had money, when she had energy. That's when she heard it, the desperate roar of an engine trying to turn over. Once, twice, a third time, weaker now, like something dying. Then, silence, the kind of silence that means you're stranded. You're in trouble. You're out of options. Rosa stopped, her keys dangling from tired fingers. Through the chain-link fence, under the harsh sodium lights of Highway 58, she could see him, a man, big, broad-shouldered, hunched over a massive Harley-Davidson on the shoulder of the road. His breath came out in visible clouds. His leather jacket looked inadequate against the wind. And even from 50 feet away, she could see the frustration in the way he straightened up, removed his helmet, and stared at his bike like it had personally betrayed him. Every rational part of Rosa's brain said, "Go home. Lily's waiting. You've done enough today. You don't know this man. It's dark. It's late. You're alone." But Rosa Delgado had never been good at walking away from broken things. Not broken engines. Not broken people. Not broken lives that just needed someone to care enough to fix them. She unlocked the gate. She'd just secured the scrape of metal on metal loud in the quiet night and made a choice that would echo across 4 states by sunrise. What Rosa didn't know, what she couldn't possibly know as she walked toward that stranger with nothing but a flashlight and a tool belt and a heart too big for her own good, was that the man she was about to help wasn't just any rider. He was Diego "Ghost" Martinez, road captain of the Devil's Outcast Motorcycle Club Southern California chapter. A 22-year veteran of the Brotherhood. A man who'd ridden with presidents and outlaws, who'd buried brothers and raised their children, who commanded respect from over 600 members across the Southwest. And in exactly 72 hours, every single one of them would arrive at Rosa's door. This is the story of a free repair that cost Rosa everything she had, and the morning 500 motorcycles arrived to give it all back, 100-fold. Rosa Maria Delgado, 36 years old. Born in Fresno, raised in Bakersfield in a neighborhood where the sound of sirens was more common than birdsong. Daughter of migrant farm workers who broke their backs in the San Joaquin Valley fields so their daughter could break stereotypes instead of picking produce. Her father, Hector, used to say while teaching her to change oil in their driveway, "Mija, your hands can build anything if your heart is willing to try. Don't let anyone tell you different because you're a woman. A wrench doesn't care about gender. It only cares if you know how to use it." He'd been right. At 16, Rosa was the only girl in auto shop class at East Bakersfield High School, enduring jokes and doubt and one teacher who told her she'd be better suited to cosmetology. She graduated top of her class and earned her first ASE certification before her 18th birthday. At 19, she was the youngest certified mechanic in Kern County, working at a dealership where the service manager kept trying to move her to the parts counter because customers prefer male mechanics. At 22, she married Miguel Delgado, a gentleman with kind eyes who drove long-haul trucks and wrote her love letters on gas station receipts when he was on the road. "Rosa, I saw the sunrise over Texas today, and it wasn't half as beautiful as you." One read. She still had them all, tucked in a shoebox under her bed. At 24, she gave birth to Lily during a surprise snowstorm rare for Bakersfield, and Miguel had held their daughter and cried and said, "She's perfect, just like her mama." At 29, Rosa buried Miguel after a jackknife semi took him on I-5 during a rainstorm. The driver had been texting. Miguel died instantly. Rosa received $47,000 from his life insurance policy, which she used to buy a small house, a 1,100 square foot, three-bedroom fixer-upper in a working-class neighborhood where at least the schools were decent and Lily could walk to the park. Now, 7 years later, Rosa lived in a world measured in torque specs and bolt sizes and the impossible mathematics of single motherhood. Every dollar was accounted for before she earned it. Mortgage, $1,247 a month. Utilities, $180. Groceries, $300 if she was careful. Shop sales, used coupons. Car insurance, $112. Health insurance, $340 for the cheapest plan with a $6,000 deductible she prayed she'd never need to use. Her paycheck from Martinez Auto Repair, $2,400 a month after taxes. The math didn't work. It never worked. She picked up side jobs, Mrs. Chin's car, the neighbor's lawnmower, oil changes for cash in her driveway on Sundays. She'd fallen behind on the mortgage during Lily's hospital stay last spring when her daughter's appendix ruptured and Rosa had to take unpaid time off work. She'd been playing catch-up ever since, always one crisis away from disaster. The foreclosure notice had arrived that morning, in an official envelope that Rosa had stared at for 5 full minutes before opening. Final notice, $12,847 past due. Foreclosure proceedings to begin November 18th. Contact our office immediately to discuss payment options. 15 days. Rosa had stuffed it in her glove compartment, too exhausted to cry, too stubborn to give up, too terrified to tell Lily that they might lose the only home her daughter had ever known. She'd figure it out. She had to. That's what mothers did. They figured it out. They made it work. They sacrificed everything so their children could have something better. Her hands told her story better than words ever could. Scarred knuckles from stripped bolts and slipped wrenches. A burn mark on her right forearm from a hot exhaust pipe 2 years ago. Calluses thick as leather from years of gripping tools. Short, practical nails because long ones broke off in tight engine spaces. But when she worked, when she was elbow deep in an engine, diagnosing problems by sound alone, feeling for the source of a vibration, listening to the language only machines spoke. Those hands moved with the grace of a concert pianist, the precision of a surgeon. She was good, better than good. She was the best mechanic at Martinez Auto Repair, though she was paid $4 less per hour than Tommy and Ray. 2 guys who'd been there half as long and couldn't diagnose a misfire if the engine was literally on fire. But Martinez knew Rosa wouldn't leave. She had Lily to think about. She had health insurance, terrible, but better than nothing. She had predictable hours, mostly. She needed this job, and Martinez knew it, which is why he paid her less and worked her harder and took credit when customers praised the quality of her repairs. Rosa didn't complain. Complaining didn't pay the mortgage. Complaining didn't keep Lily in the gifted program at school, where her daughter, brilliant, curious, destined for college and a life better than this, was learning algebra and reading at a high school level. Complaining didn't honor Miguel's memory or her father's sacrifice or the calluses on her mother's hands from 20 years of picking grapes. So Rosa worked, and worked, and worked some more. Tonight, she'd stayed 2 hours past closing to finish Mrs. Chin's transmission, a job Martinez had quoted at $1,400, but Rosa knew could be done for $650 if she rebuilt the valve body herself instead of ordering a new one. Mrs. Chin was a 73-year-old widow on Social Security. Rosa understood what that meant. She understood what it felt like to count pennies and make impossible choices and lie awake at night doing math that never added up. Martinez would be angry when he saw the invoice Rosa charging for parts and labor at her discretion instead of his inflated quotes. But Mrs. Chin would be able to drive to her doctor's appointments, to the grocery store, to visit her grandchildren in Fresno. That mattered more than Martinez's profit margin. Now, standing outside the locked gate at 9:47 p.m., bone-tired and heart-weary, watching a stranger struggle with a dead motorcycle on a cold November night, Rosa made the same choice she always made. She chose kindness over caution, compassion over common sense, people over profit. She walked toward him. "Hey," Rosa called out, her voice carrying across the empty road. You need help? The man turned, and even in the dim light, Rosa could see the size of him, easily 6'2", maybe 240 pounds of solid muscle beneath the leather. His face was weathered, late 40s or early 50s, with a thick beard going gray at the edges and eyes that held the kind of exhaustion that comes from miles and years and losses you don't talk about. Across his back, partially visible under his jacket, a patch, a skull with wings. The words, Devil's Outcasts, MC. Every news story Rosa had ever heard about motorcycle clubs flashed through her mind. Violence, crime, danger. Lock your doors. Cross the street. Don't make eye contact. But she also saw something else. A man standing in 43-degree weather with a dead bike, alone on a highway at night, looking at his motorcycle, with the same expression Rosa sometimes saw in the mirror, defeat mixed with stubborn refusal to give up. You a mechanic? His voice was rough, like gravel and whiskey and too many years of road dust. 10 years certified, Rosa said, approaching slowly, hands visible, non-threatening. What happened? Don't know. Was running fine, then started misfiring about 10 miles back. Now she won't turn over at all. He gestured helplessly at the Harley. I'm supposed to be in San Diego tonight. My mom. His voice caught. She's in hospice. They said I should come soon if I want to say goodbye. Rosa's heart cracked. She knew that urgency. The desperate need to be there. To not miss the last chance. The final words. Let me take a look. She knelt beside the bike, running her hands over the engine casing, feeling for heat distribution, listening. The Harley was a beauty, a 2015 Road King, lovingly maintained, chromed to perfection. Clearly someone's pride and joy. Rosa pulled a small flashlight from her belt and began the diagnostic dance she'd performed 10,000 times. Check the battery terminals clean and tight. Check the fuel smelled normal, tank was half full. Check the spark plug, she'd need tools for that. When did you last service it? She asked. 2 weeks ago. Full service oil, plugs, everything. Rosa frowned, tracing the electrical system with her flashlight. Then she saw a tiny crack in the ignition coil housing. Barely visible, but enough. Water or condensation had gotten in, shorted the system. Your ignition coil's fried, she said. That's why you're not getting spark. Probably happened gradually. The misfiring. Was it starting to fail? Now it's completely dead. Diego. That's what his name tag said, ran a hand over his face. Can it be fixed? Yes. But not here. Not without parts and tools. Rosa stood, making a decision. My shop's right there. I can tow your bike in. Replace the coil. I have a universal one that'll work temporarily until you can get an OEM part. How much? Rosa thought about her mortgage notice. About the $12,847 she didn't have. About Lily sleeping at home. About the 15 days until they lost everything. Then she thought about Miguel, about the last time she'd seen him alive, about how she'd give anything for one more goodbye. Nothing, she heard herself say. Get to your mom. That's what matters. Diego stared at her. Ma'am, Rosa. My name's Rosa. Rosa, I can't let you work for free. You're not letting me do anything. I'm choosing to. She was already walking back to the shop, pulling out her keys. Come on. Let's get your bike inside before we both freeze. The garage was cold, the heaters long since shut off for the night. Rosa flipped on the overhead lights, harsh fluorescent brightness that hummed and flickered, and helped Diego roll the Harley inside. Up close, she could see more details. The bike was immaculate. Custom paint job, every chrome piece polished to a mirror finish. But it was the saddlebags that caught her attention. Worn leather, patched in places, clearly original to the bike, clearly meaningful. My brother's bike, Diego said quietly, noticing her looking. He died 2 years ago. Cancer. Left it to me in his will. I've been riding it ever since, keeping his memory alive on the road. Rosa understood immediately. This wasn't just a motorcycle. This was a memorial, a connection, a way to hold on to someone who'd slipped away. I'll take care of it, she promised. Like it was my own. She worked quickly but carefully, muscle memory guiding her hands through the familiar process. Remove the seat, access the electrical system, disconnect the damaged coil. The part was completely burned out. Diego was lucky the bike had died here, on a main highway, within walking distance of help, instead of somewhere remote and dangerous. Rosa went to her parts shelf organized with a precision that would make a librarian weep and found a universal ignition coil. It wasn't a perfect match, but it would work, get him where he needed to go. You do this often? Diego asked, watching her work. Help stranded strangers? First time with a motorcycle, Rosa admitted, connecting wires with steady hands. But I help when I can. My husband used to say that kindness is the only thing we can give that never runs out. Her voice softened. He was wrong about that. Kindness takes energy. And sometimes I'm so tired I don't think I have any left, but I try. He'd want me to try. Used to say. Past tense. He died 7 years ago. Truck accident. Left me with a 6-year-old daughter and a mortgage I'm about to lose. Rosa didn't know why she was telling him this. Maybe because it was late. Maybe because confessing to a stranger felt safer than admitting her failures. To people she knew. But that's not your problem. Let me finish this up. Diego was quiet for a long moment. Then, your daughter. What's her name? Lily. She's 10 now. Wants to be an aerospace engineer. Rosa smiled despite everything. Too smart for her own good. Gets that from her dad. And the stubbornness? Where'd she get that? Rosa laughed, surprising herself. Definitely her mom. The repair took 40 minutes. Rosa installed the new coil, reconnected everything, checked and rechecked her work. She was acutely aware that Diego's mother was dying, that every minute mattered, but rushing would be worse than taking time to do it right. Try it now. Diego turned the key. The engine caught immediately, rumbling to life with that distinctive Harley growl that vibrated in your chest. Relief flooded his face. You're a miracle worker, just a mechanic. Rosa wiped her hands on a shop rag, though it didn't help much. The oil stains were permanent. You've got about 200 miles on that coil before you should replace it with a proper one. Any Harley dealer can do it, but it'll get you to San Diego. Diego pulled out his wallet. How much do I owe you? I told you, and I'm telling you, I can't just take your work for free. The part alone cost me $35. Consider it a gift from one person who's lost someone to another person who's about to. Rosa's voice was firm. Drive safe. Tell your mom. Her throat tightened. Tell her someone in Bakersfield was thinking of her tonight. Diego stared at Rosa for a long moment, his eyes bright with emotion he didn't bother hiding. Then he did something unexpected. He pulled off his jacket and removed a patch from the inner lining. It was small, embroidered, showing a guardian angel with motorcycle wings. This is a Road Guardian patch, he said, pressing it into Rosa's oil-stained hands. In our club, we give these to people who've helped us when we needed it most. It means you're under the protection of the devils. Outcasts. It means if you ever need anything, and I mean anything, you call this number. He handed her a card with a phone number scrawled on it. Someone will answer. Someone will help. Rosa looked at the patch, at the card, at this stranger who'd become something else in the span of an hour. Thank you, she whispered. No, Rosa Delgado. Diego had seen her name on the shop jacket. Thank you. You gave me a chance to say goodbye to my mother. That's worth more than money could ever measure. He climbed onto his bike, the engine idling smooth and strong. I won't forget this, he called over the rumble. And neither will my brothers. Then he was gone, tail lights disappearing into the night, leaving Rosa standing alone in the cold garage with a patch in her hands and no idea that her world had just changed forever. She locked up the shop for the second time that night, drove home to her sleeping daughter, and collapsed into bed without even changing out of her work clothes. Tomorrow would bring new problems, new struggles, new impossible choices. But tonight, she'd help someone. Tonight, kindness had mattered. That had to be enough. November 6th, 2019. 6:47 a.m. Rosa woke to her phone ringing, the shrill alarm that meant she'd overslept, that she was running late, that the day was already starting wrong. She stumbled out of bed, still in yesterday's coveralls she'd been too exhausted to change out of, and checked on Lily. Her daughter was already awake, dressed in her school uniform, sitting at the kitchen table with a bowl of cereal and a library book about rocket science. "Morning, baby," Rosa said, kissing the top of Lily's head. "You worked late again." It wasn't a question. Lily was 10 going on 30, observant and perceptive in ways that made Rosa's heart ache. "Mrs. Chin needed her car. But I'm taking you to school today, okay?" "No bus." Lily's face lit up. Mornings with Mom were rare and precious. They drove through Bakersfield's morning. Traffic, past strip malls and fast food restaurants, and the perpetual construction on Highway 99. Lily chattered about her science project, about her best friend Emma's birthday party this weekend, about the telescope she wanted for Christmas, $89 on Amazon. She'd already looked it up. Rosa made mental calculations. Christmas was 7 weeks away. If she picked up extra weekend work, if she skipped the oil change her car desperately needed, if they ate spaghetti 4 nights a week instead of 3. "Mom, are you listening?" "Always, baby. Tell me more about your project." She dropped Lily at school, watched her daughter disappear into the building with her too heavy backpack and her brilliant mind and her father's kind eyes, and Rosa felt the familiar mix of fierce love and crushing fear. What if she couldn't give Lily the life she deserved? What if the foreclosure went through? What if her phone rang? Martinez Auto Repair. "Rosa, where are you?" Martinez's voice was sharp. "You were supposed to open at 7. She glanced at the dashboard clock. 7:23. "I'm 5 minutes away. Make it 3. We've got a line of customers already." He hung up without saying goodbye. Rosa pulled back into traffic, her jaw tight, and drove to the shop that owned too much of her life. The day was brutal. 6 oil changes, 2 brake jobs, a transmission diagnostic that took 3 hours because the customer had ignored every warning light for 6 months. A young mom with a screaming toddler whose alternator had died in the parking lot and who cried when Rosa told her the repair cost because she just paid her rent and didn't have anything left. Rosa did the job for half price and told Martinez the part had been on sale. He yelled at her for 20 minutes about profit margins. By 4 p.m., Rosa's back was screaming, her hands were raw, and she'd eaten nothing but a granola bar she'd found in her glove compartment. That's when the banker called. "Miss Delgado, this is Robert Chin from First National Bank. I'm calling regarding your mortgage account ending in 7,734. We haven't received payment arrangements for the past due balance." Rosa stepped outside, away from the noise of the shop, her heart hammering. "I'm working on it. I just need more time. Miss Delgado, you've been granted 3 extensions already. I'm afraid the foreclosure process has begun. Unless you can pay the full past due amount of $12,847 by November 15th, the property will be sold at auction on December 2nd. 9 days. She had 9 days to come up with $12,847. "What if I can pay some of it, half?" "Would that, unfortunately, no. The account is too far in arrears. It needs to be brought current in full." Rosa felt the world tilt. "I have a daughter. This is our home. I understand, and I'm very sorry. But the bank has been more than accommodating. If you can't pay by the 15th, I strongly suggest you begin looking for alternative housing. I'll send you information about resources for displaced families." He hung up. Rosa stood in the parking lot of Martinez Auto Repair, surrounded by cars she could fix but couldn't afford to own, and let herself cry for exactly 2 minutes. Then she wiped her face, went back inside, and finished her shift because that's what single mothers did. They broke in private and kept going in public. Lily was doing homework at the kitchen table when Rosa got home at 7:30. The house smelled like the spaghetti she'd made in the slow cooker. That morning her daughter was getting too independent, too capable of taking care of herself. And Rosa felt guilty relief every time Lily proved she didn't need constant supervision. "How was school?" "Good. We started reading The Martian in English class. It's about this astronaut who gets stranded on Mars and has to science his way to survival." Lily looked up, her eyes bright. "Kind of like you, Mom. You science your way through stuff all the time." Rosa's throat tightened. "That's a beautiful way to put it, baby." They ate dinner together, their sacred ritual. The one thing Rosa refused to sacrifice, no matter how tired she was. Lily talked about fractions and Emma's birthday party and whether the universe was infinite or just really, really big. After Lily went to bed, Rosa sat at the kitchen table with a calculator, a notepad, and her bank statements. She did the math 17 different ways. None of them worked. She had $1,847 in savings money she'd been setting aside for Lily's braces, which the dentist said she'd need by next year. She had $600 in checking. She could sell Miguel's truck, but it needed $2,000 in repairs first and wasn't worth more than $3,500. She could take out a payday loan, but the interest rates were predatory and would only dig the hole deeper. She was $10,400 short with 9 days to find it. Rosa pulled out the card Diego had given her, the phone number for the Devil's Outcasts, MC. For a wild, desperate moment, she considered calling, asking for a loan, asking for help. Then shame washed over her. She'd helped a stranger because it was the right thing to do, not to create debt or obligation. Calling in a favor would taint that, would turn kindness into a transaction. She put the card back in her wallet. She'd figure something else out. She had to. Diego Ghost Martinez had made it to San Diego with 4 hours to spare. He'd sat beside his mother's hospice bed, held her frail hand, and told her about the mechanic in Bakersfield who'd saved him. His mother Maria, 71 years old, a woman who'd raised 4 sons on a housekeeper's salary after their father abandoned them, had smiled despite the pain. "Find her again," she'd whispered. "Thank her properly. That's what good men do." Maria had died 3 hours later, surrounded by her sons, at peace. Now, 3 days after the funeral, Diego sat in the clubhouse of the Devil's Outcasts Southern California chapter in San Bernardino. The building was a converted warehouse, concrete floors, metal rafters, walls covered in chapter photos and memorial patches for fallen brothers. 40 men filled the space, all wearing the same patch, all gathered for church, the weekly mandatory meeting where club business was handled. Diego stood at the front, his voice carrying across the room. "Brothers, I want to tell you about what happened last Sunday." He told them about the breakdown, about Rosa, about her refusing payment, about learning later he'd called the shop, talked to another mechanic, that she was a single mom, that her husband had died, that she was struggling. "This woman had nothing," Diego said, "and she gave me everything. She gave me the chance to say goodbye to my mother. She didn't know me. She didn't know our patch. She just saw someone who needed help." The room was silent, attentive. "And here's what I found out today." Diego pulled out his phone, showing an article he'd found from the Bakersfield, California newspaper's public records. "Her house is in still foreclosure. She owes $12,847. She's got 6 days to pay, or she and her daughter lose everything." Tommy Reaper Johnson, the club president, leaned forward. "You verified this?" "Called the bank. Pretended to be interested in the auction. It's legitimate." Reaper looked around the room at 40 men who'd ridden together, bled together, buried brothers together. Men who lived by a code that outsiders didn't understand: loyalty, honor, protection of those who couldn't protect themselves. "What are you thinking, Ghost?" Diego met his president's eyes. "I'm thinking we pay her debt. All of it. I'm thinking we show her that kindness isn't weakness, it's strength. And I'm thinking we do it the way we do everything else. Together, as brothers." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the room. "How much do we have in the benevolence fund?" Reaper asked the treasurer. 8,000, but we've got 3 members with kids needing Christmas help. So we raise more," Diego said. "We call the other chapters. We make this happen." Reaper stood, his voice commanding attention. "All in favor of supporting Ghost's proposal to help Rosa Delgado, say aye." "Aye." The response was unanimous, thunderous. "Then, let's make some calls. Ghost, your point on this." "Whatever you need." Diego nodded, his chest tight with emotion. "There's one more thing. I don't want to just hand her a check. That feels like charity, like we're looking down on her. I want to show up. I want her to see what one act of kindness created. I want her daughter to see that good people exist in this world." "You're talking about a full chapter ride," Tommy said. "Maybe more. I'm talking about showing her that she's not alone, that she saved one of us, so all of us are going to save her." Reaper grinned, a rare expression on the scarred face of a man who'd seen too much darkness. Then, let's make some noise. Ghost, coordinate with the other chapters. Let's show Bakersfield what brotherhood really means. The phone tree started immediately. Southern California to Northern California. California to Nevada. Nevada to Arizona. The story of Rosa spread like wildfire through the network. A mechanic, a single mother, a woman who'd helped when helping cost her something, who was now about to lose everything. And across 4 states, men and women who wore the devil's outcast patch heard the call. They started collecting money. $20 here, $50 there. One member in Phoenix emptied his savings account $4,000. A chapter in Reno organized a fundraiser ride and raised $6,000 in a single day. Corporate sponsor who'd worked with the club on veteran events donated $5,000. Within 48 hours, they had $25,000. More than enough to pay Rosa's mortgage and give her a cushion for the future. When do we ride? Members started asking. Diego checked his calendar. November 15th was a Friday. Rosa's deadline. Dawn on the 15th, he said. We converge on Bakersfield, we find her, and we change her life. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time. So if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel, it means a lot to us. Now, back to the story. By November 14th, over 500 bikers from 4 states had confirmed they'd be there. The logistics were military precise. Staging location, route coordination, who was bringing what. But the purpose was simple. Show one woman that her kindness had created a wave. Show her that she wasn't alone. Show her that the world was better than the darkness she'd been fighting through. Rosa Delgado had no idea what was coming. She had no idea that in less than 24 hours, the sound of 500 motorcycles would shake her neighborhood like thunder. She had no idea that her quiet act of mercy had awakened an army. Rosa woke up at 5:30 a.m. on Friday, November 15th, knowing it was over. Today was the deadline. Today, she needed to walk into First National Bank with $12,847 or sign the papers that would start the foreclosure process. She had $2,600. She'd sold Miguel's truck to a junkyard for $800. She'd worked every side job she could find. She'd even sold her wedding ring, the one thing she'd sworn she'd never part with, to a pawn shop for $400. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. Rosa lay in bed, staring at the ceiling of the home she'd lose, and felt something inside her finally break. Not dramatically, not with tears or screams, just a quiet, hollow acceptance that she'd fought as hard as she could, and it hadn't been enough. She got up, made coffee, woke Lily for school. Mom? Lily stood in the kitchen doorway, her hair messy from sleep, her expression worried. Are we going to be okay? Rosa wanted to lie. Wanted to say, of course, baby, everything's fine, like she had 100 times before. But Lily deserved the truth. I don't know, Rosa said quietly, but whatever happens, we're going to face it together. You and me, always. Lily crossed the kitchen and hugged her mother fiercely. And Rosa held her daughter and wondered how she'd failed so spectacularly at the one job that mattered most, keeping her child safe. What Rosa didn't know, what she couldn't possibly know as she drove Lily to school and then headed to Martinez Auto Repair for what might be her last day working while she still had a home to go to, was that 300 miles away, the largest motorcycle convoy Southern California had seen in a decade was already on the move. They'd started gathering at 5 a.m. at a truck stop outside San Bernardino. 50 bikes became 100, 100 became 200. Members from Los Angeles, San Diego, Orange County, Riverside, all wearing the Devil's Outcasts patch, all carrying cash, checks, gift cards, supplies. At 6 a.m., the Northern California chapters arrived: Sacramento, Fresno, Oakland, another 100 bikes. At 6:30, the Nevada chapter rolled in Las Vegas, Reno, Carson City, 75 more. At 6:45, Arizona made their entrance: Phoenix, Tucson, Flagstaff. 80 bikes. By 7 a.m., over 500 motorcycles filled the truck stop parking lot, and the sound of engines was like continuous thunder. Diego, Ghost Martinez, stood on the bed of a pickup truck, surveying the assembly. Brothers and sisters he'd ridden with for decades. Prospects he barely knew. All here because one woman had shown kindness to a stranger. Brothers, sisters, his voice carried across the lot. Today we ride for Rosa Delgado. Today, we show the world what this patch means. We ride with honor. We ride with purpose. We ride to change a life. The roar of approval from 500 voices shook the ground. Formation riding, no showboating, no intimidation. We're not here to scare her, we're here to help her. We show respect to her neighborhood, her daughter, her dignity. We are ambassadors of the brotherhood today. Diego climbed down, pulled on his helmet, straddled his brother's bike, lovingly maintained, now carrying him on a mission his brother would have approved of. Let's ride. 500 engines roared to life. They pulled out onto I-5 North in formation, a river of chrome and leather stretching a quarter-mile long, 2 lanes wide, riding with the disciplined precision of a military convoy. Cars pulled to the side. People on overpasses stopped to stare. Phones came out, recording this impossible sight. The devil's outcasts were riding, and Bakersfield had no idea what was coming. Rosa was elbow-deep in a Chevy Suburban's engine, replacing a timing belt when Martinez appeared in the bay doorway. "Rosa, my office." Now, her stomach dropped. That tone never meant anything good. She wiped her hands and followed him to the cramped office that smelled like cigarettes and cheap air freshener. Martinez sat behind his desk, his expression cold. "I got a call from First National Bank this morning," he said without preamble. "About your foreclosure." Shame burned through Rosa. "That's personal. It has nothing to do. It has everything to do with this shop. You think customers want their cars worked on by someone who can't even keep their own life together? You think that reflects well on my business?" Rosa's hands clenched. "My work has never suffered. You know that. Your work is fine. Your judgment is questionable. Like staying 2 hours past close last week to work on Mrs. Chin's car and charging her cost instead of full price. Like giving away my parts and my time. They were my parts. I bought on my property during my hours. It's my liability. And I'm done with it." Martinez slid a paper across the desk. 2 weeks' notice. You're terminated. The room tilted. You're firing me. I'm letting you go. You'll get paid through the end of the month. But after that, you're done. I need mechanics who are focused on this shop, not distracted by personal problems. Rosa stood there, her mind spinning. She just lost her home. Now she was losing her job. The foundation of her entire life was crumbling, and she had no idea how to stop it. "I have a daughter," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Then you should have thought about that before playing hero with strangers' motorcycles." "Wait." Rosa's eyes narrowed. "How did you know about the motorcycle?" Martinez shifted, uncomfortable. "Someone mentioned it." "Who?" "Doesn't matter. Point is, you had me followed, or you checked the security cameras." Rosa's voice was rising. "You saw me help someone, and you're punishing me for it. I'm protecting my business by firing your best mechanic because she showed basic human decency." Rosa's voice cracked. "Miguel was right about you. He said you were a small man with a smaller heart. I should have listened." She turned and walked out, ignoring Martinez yelling her name. She gathered her few personal tools, the ones Miguel had given her, the ones her father had passed down. She nodded goodbye to Tommy and Ray, who looked away, ashamed but not surprised. And she walked out of Martinez Auto Repair for the last time. It was 10:15 a.m. She had until 5 p.m. to pay her mortgage or lose her house. She had nowhere to work, no income, and a daughter who deserved so much better than this. Rosa sat in her car in the parking lot and let herself fall apart. The convoy hit Bakersfield city limits at 10:45 a.m. 500 motorcycles riding in tight formation, engines rumbling like a sustained thunderstorm, chrome glinting in the November sun. Diego had called ahead to the Bakersfield Police Department, explaining the situation, getting permission for the convoy, ensuring this wouldn't be seen as a threat. The desk sergeant had been skeptical until Diego explained about Rosa, about her kindness, about their mission, a mortgage payoff ride. The sergeant had sounded amazed. "That's actually beautiful. You have my blessing. Just keep it peaceful. Always." Now they rolled down Highway 99 through the heart of Bakersfield, and people stopped, came out of stores, pulled over their cars, pulled out phones. The devil's outcasts filled 3 lanes of highway, a spectacle of brotherhood and purpose. Diego had Rosa's address, 2247 Oak Street, a small neighborhood on the east side of town. Working class, chain-link fences, small yards, the kind of place where people worked hard and still barely got by. They needed a staging area. Diego had chosen the parking lot of a closed factory 2 blocks from Rosa's house, big enough to hold 500 bikes, close enough to make an impact. The convoy pulled in at 11 a.m., engines cutting off in waves, leaving sudden silence that felt almost oppressive after hours of sustained noise. Diego gathered the core members, chapter presidents from each state, road captains, the coordinators who'd made this happen. "Here's the plan," he said, unfolding a map of the neighborhood. "We're going to do this right. First, we find out where Rosa is. I'll go to her house, talk to neighbors, locate her. Then we bring her here respectfully. No pressure, just an invitation. Then we present what we've brought. Then we let her process without overwhelming her. What if she's at work?" someone asked. "Then we go to her work. But we do it small, just me, and maybe a couple others. We're here to help, not to intimidate." Reaper, the president, nodded approval. "Ghost, you take point. Everyone else, start setting up. Let's make this look less like a biker rally and more like a community gathering. Pull out the food, the supplies, the gifts for her kid. Show her what 500 people's kindness looks like." The transformation began. Grills appeared. Tables were set up. Someone had brought a bounce house for Rosa's daughter. Others had bags of groceries, boxes of clothes, gift cards to Target and Walmart and the local grocery store. The treasurers from each chapter gathered, counting out the cash and checks that had been collected. Final total, $27,400. More than enough to pay Rosa's mortgage, with over $14,000 left for a future, for security, for breathing room. Diego pulled out his phone and called the number listed for 2247 Oak Street. It rang 4 times, then went to voicemail. "Hi, this is Rosa. I can't take your call right now, but leave a message and I'll get back to you." Diego hung up, tried again. Voicemail. "Let's go to the house," he said to 2 other members, a woman named Maria and a man named Carlos, both chosen because they looked the least intimidating. "The rest of you, stay here. We'll bring her back." They walked the 2 blocks to Oak Street, 3 bikers in full leather and patches, drawing stares from neighbors. 2247 was a small house, well-maintained despite its age. The lawn was neatly mowed. A child's bicycle leaned against the porch. A small garden held dead summer plants waiting to be cleared for winter. No car in the driveway. Diego knocked. No answer. A woman appeared from the house next door, elderly, maybe 70, wearing a house dress and slippers. "Can I help you?" She sounded wary, but not frightened. "Ma'am, I'm looking for Rosa Delgado. It's important, non-threatening. We're here to help her." The woman studied Diego's patch, his face. "You're with a motorcycle club?" "Yes, ma'am. Rosa helped me when my bike broke down. I'm here to return the favor." Something in the woman's expression softened. Rosa's girl mentioned she had a bad morning. Lost her job at that awful shop. Rosa was crying when she left in her car about an hour ago. Don't know where she went, but given today's her mortgage deadline. The woman's eyes grew sad. She might be at the bank. First National, on Chester Avenue. Diego's chest tightened. Rosa had been fired. Today, of all days. "Thank you, ma'am. We're going to help her. I promise you that." The woman's eyes filled with tears. "Rosa's a good person. Best neighbor I've ever had. If you're really here to help, then God bless you." Diego, Maria, and Carlos walked quickly back to the staging area. "Change of plans," Diego announced. "Rosa's at First National Bank on Chester. She lost her job this morning. This is worse than we thought. She's not just facing foreclosure. She's facing it with no income." The assembled bikers exchanged looks, grim, determined. "Then we go to the bank," Reaper said. "All of us. We bring everything. We show her she's not alone, not today, not ever." That's a lot of bikes for a bank parking lot, someone pointed out. Then we park in the street. We fill the block. We make it impossible for her to miss us. Diego's voice was steel and compassion mixed. Rosa Delgado showed me kindness when I was broken down and alone. Today, we show her that kindness creates miracles. 500 bikers mounted up. The engines roared back to life. And they rode toward First National Bank, toward a woman they'd never met, toward a moment that would change everything. Rosa sat in the lobby of First National Bank, holding a folder containing every piece of paperwork documenting her failure. Pay stubs, bank statements, the foreclosure notice, a letter she'd written begging for one more extension, knowing it would be denied. Across the desk, Robert Chen, the same banker who'd called her, looked genuinely sympathetic. Miss Delgado, I wish there was something I could do, but the account is 4 months past due. The bank has already granted 3 extensions. I lost my job this morning, Rosa said, her voice hollow. I have $2,600. I know it's not enough, but could that buy me any more time? 2 weeks? 1 week? I'm afraid not. Without proof of income and the full amount, the foreclosure proceeds. Through the bank's front windows, Rosa could see the streetcars passing, people going about their days, the world continuing while hers collapsed. What happens next? You'll have until December 2nd to vacate the property. The house will be sold at auction. Any proceeds beyond what's owed will be returned to you. But given the market and the condition, there won't be any proceeds. Probably not. I'm sorry. Rosa nodded, too exhausted to cry anymore. Can I have a few minutes before I sign? Of course. I'll give you privacy. Robert Chen left. Rosa sat alone in the small office, staring at the paperwork that would end her daughter's stability and the last connection to Miguel, and everything she'd fought so hard to preserve. She pulled out her phone. One text from Lily's school. Field trip permission slip due Monday. Lily wouldn't be going on that field trip. They'd be packing boxes, looking for apartments they couldn't afford, explaining to a 10-year-old why her mother had failed so completely. Rosa was about to sign the first page when she heard it. A sound, distant, growing closer. The rumble of engines, multiple engines, a lot of engines. She looked up at the window. Other people in the bank were looking too, moving toward the glass, murmuring. The rumble grew to a roar. Then they appeared. Motorcycles. Dozens of them. No, hundreds. Filling Chester Avenue. Like a flood of chrome and leather, parking in formation along both sides of the street, more still coming around the corner. The bank lobby fell silent. Everyone staring. Rosa stood, her heart hammering, drawn to the window by something she couldn't name. The bikes kept coming. More and more. 500 motorcycles now filled the street, the parking lot, the entire block, every rider wearing the same patch. Devil's Outcast MC. Oh my God. Someone whispered. What's happening? The riders dismounted, removing helmets, and Rosa saw faces of all ages, men and women, young and old, all looking toward the bank with purpose in their eyes. Then one figure separated from the crowd, walking toward the bank entrance. Big, bearded, familiar. Rosa's breath stopped. Diego. The doors opened, and he walked in, followed by 2 others. The entire bank lobby watched in stunned silence as this mountain of a man in leather and patches crossed directly to Rosa. Rosa Delgado? She couldn't speak, could only nod. I'm Diego Martinez. You saved my life 2 weeks ago when my bike broke down. You got me to my mother before she died. You refused payment when you could barely afford to give free labor. Rosa's hands trembled. What are you doing here? Returning the favor. But first Diego turned to Robert Chen, who'd emerged from his office looking confused and slightly alarmed. Are you the banker handling Miss Delgado's foreclosure? Yes. But I don't see how. Diego pulled an envelope from his jacket. This is a cashier's check for $15,000. Made out to First National Bank for the account of Rosa Delgado. It covers the past due balance and 6 months of future payments. The lobby erupted in whispers. Rosa stared at the check, her brain unable to process what she was seeing. What? I don't understand. You helped one of us, Diego said gently. So all of us helped you. There are 500 bikers outside who contributed to this. Some gave $20. Some gave thousands. All of them gave because your kindness reminded us what this world should be. Robertson took the check with shaking hands, examined it. This is legitimate, Miss Delgado. This covers your debt completely and brings your account current. Rosa's legs gave out. Diego caught her, steadied her, his grip strong and sure. I can't accept this, she whispered. It's too much. I didn't help you for money or debt or... We know, Maria said, stepping forward. That's exactly why we're doing it. You gave without expecting anything back. We're giving the same way. But, I lost my job this morning. We know that too, Diego said. Your neighbor told us. So we're also giving you this. He handed her another envelope, thicker, $12,400. Emergency fund. Living expenses while you find new work. A cushion, so you and your daughter don't have to live paycheck to paycheck for a while. Rosa opened the envelope with shaking hands. Stacks of bills, checks, gift cards, and there's more. Carlos said, grinning. Outside. For your daughter. For your home. For your life. I don't. Rosa's voice broke. I don't deserve this. Yes, Diego said firmly. You do. You deserve this and more. You deserve to not be punished for kindness. You deserve security. You deserve someone showing up for you the way you showed up for me. Tears streamed down Rosa's face. Not tears of defeat now, but of overwhelming, impossible relief. Robert Chin was processing the check, his fingers flying over his keyboard. Miss Delgado, your account is officially current. The foreclosure has been canceled. Your house is safe. The bank lobby erupted in applause. Tellers, customers, everyone who'd witnessed this impossible moment. Diego offered his hand. Will you come outside? There are some people who want to meet you. Rosa took his hand, let him guide her through the bank, through the doors, into the November sunshine, and stopped. 500 bikers stood in formation, filling the street. Behind them, tables had been set up with food, supplies, wrapped presents. A banner hung between two bikes. Thank you, Rosa. You saved one of us. We've got you. Every single person began to clap. The sound built like thunder. 500 pairs of hands, 500 voices, 500 people who'd traveled hours to be here, to show one woman that her kindness had created a wave. Rosa stood there, overwhelmed, her face wet with tears, her heart too full for words. An elderly woman approached Patches, indicating she was the president of the Northern California chapter. My husband died last year. A mechanic like you helped him when he broke down coming home from chemotherapy. We're here because we understand. We're here because people like you make this world bearable. A young man, maybe 25. You remind me of my mom, single mother who worked 3 jobs. I'm riding for her today, and for you. A woman with a prosthetic leg. I was a veteran, living in my car when this club found me. They gave me family. Now we're giving you the same. One by one, they came. Shared stories. Shared connection. Shared the truth that kindness isn't a transaction, it's a transformation. Diego led Rosa to the tables. We brought groceries for 6 months. Clothes for your daughter, we guessed her size, hope we got close. Toys for Christmas. A bicycle. School supplies. Gift cards for gas. Groceries, everything you need. And this, Reaper, the president, handed her a piece of paper. Contact information for 20 motorcycle shops and repair garages in Bakersfield and surrounding areas. Every single one is owned by club members or friends. Every single one is looking to hire a master mechanic. You'll have 10 job offers by Monday. Good jobs. Fair pay. Respect. Rosa couldn't speak, could only stare at this impossible gift. This answered prayer she hadn't even prayed because she'd stopped believing in miracles. Why? She finally whispered. Why would you do all this? Diego crouched down so he was at eye level with her. Because you saw a stranger freezing on the side of the road, and you didn't see a threat or a criminal or someone to be afraid of. You saw a human being who needed help. That kind of sight, that kind of heart is rare and precious. And we don't let people like that struggle alone. The sound of a car door broke the moment. Rosa turned. A taxi had pulled up. The back door opened. Lily climbed out, her school uniform rumpled, her eyes huge as she took in the scene. 500 bikers, mountains of supplies, her mother surrounded by leather and patches, and impossible kindness. "Mom?" Her voice was small, frightened. Rosa ran to her daughter, dropped to her knees, pulled Lily into her arms. "Baby, it's okay. These are friends. They're good people. Her voice broke. They saved us, Lily. They saved our home." Lily looked past her mother at the assembled crowd. All of them? All of them. Maria approached, crouching to Lily's level. "Hi, Lily. Your mom helped my friend Diego when he really needed it. So, we all came to help her back. Is that okay?" Lily studied Maria's face, then looked at the banner, the supplies, the bikes. "You're here because Mom fixed a motorcycle?" "We're here because your mom is the kind of person who helps when helping costs or something. That makes her a hero, and heroes deserve backup." Lily's eyes filled with tears. Then she did something that broke every heart present. She let go of her mother, walked directly to Diego, this mountain of a man who could have been terrifying, and hugged him. "Thank you for helping my mom. She always helps everyone else, and nobody ever helps her." Diego, this hardened veteran who'd seen combat and loss and too much darkness, wept openly. "Not anymore, sweetheart. From now on, your mom's got 500 people who've got her back." The party lasted 3 hours. Someone grilled burgers. Someone else set up games. For the kids who'd gathered, Lily and a dozen neighborhood children, all playing on the bounce house that appeared from someone's trailer, all laughing in the way kids do when adults create magic. News crews arrived. Diego gave interviews, explaining what happened, why they'd come. "This isn't about our club. This is about a woman who showed humanity when it cost her everything. We're just showing that humanity is contagious." The story went viral by evening. Number Bikers for Rosa trended. Local businesses reached out, offering jobs, support, donations. The mayor of Bakersfield came, shook Rosa's hand, thanked the devil's outcasts for showing our community what brotherhood looks like. But for Rosa, the most important part was simpler. She stood in her living room that evening, Lily asleep in her room, exhausted and happy. Her new bicycle parked beside her bed, surrounded by boxes of supplies and groceries and hope. The foreclosure notice was gone, replaced by a bank statement showing her account current. Her phone had 7 voicemails from motorcycle shops offering employment. Her refrigerator was full for the first time in months. Her daughter was safe. Her home was secure. Her future wasn't fixed, nothing ever is, but it wasn't hopeless anymore. Diego had stayed last, helping unload supplies, making sure everything was sorted. "I still don't understand why," Rosa said quietly. "I just did what anyone should do." "But most people don't," Diego replied. "Most people see the patch and walk away. See a stranger and prioritize their own safety. See someone struggling and think, not my problem. You didn't. You saw a human. You helped. That deserves to be honored." "Your mother," Rosa said. "You said she told you to find me." Diego smiled, sad but genuine. "Last thing she said. Find her again. Thank her properly. That's what good men do. So I found my brothers, and we did what good people do, we showed up." He handed her one more thing, a leather vest, smaller, clearly custom-made. "No patches yet, just clean leather. You're honorary family now. You don't have to ride. You don't have to come to events. But if you ever need anything, and I mean anything, you wear that, and every devil's outcast in the country will know you're protected. You're ours now. We take care of our own." Rosa held the vest, her fingers tracing the soft leather, feeling the weight of belonging she hadn't felt since Miguel died. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything. Thank you for reminding us why we do this. Why the patch means something more than just brotherhood. It means being the kind of people who show up when it matters." Rosa stood in the bay of Rider's Edge Motorcycle Repair, owned by a Devil's Outcast member named Tommy, who'd offered her a job at $6 more per hour than Martinez ever paid. She was training 2 new mechanics, both women, both single mothers Tommy had hired at Rosa's recommendation. "The key is listening," Rosa told them. "Engines talk. You just have to learn their language." Her phone buzzed. A text from Lily. "Got an A on my science project. Mr. Harrison says I'm definitely going to be an engineer." Rosa smiled, typed back, Proud of you. Baby, pizza tonight to celebrate. She could afford pizza now. She could afford a lot of things, not luxury, but stability, security, breathing room. The foreclosure notice was framed on her living room wall, crossed out in red marker with Lily's handwriting. Not today. Satan. The vest Diego had given her hung beside it, a reminder that kindness creates connection, that one act of compassion can ripple outward in ways we can't imagine. Rosa had learned something profound those months ago. You don't have to be rich to be generous. You don't have to be powerful to make a difference. You just have to be willing to see people really see them and help when helping costs you something. Because that kind of kindness doesn't just change one life. It changes everyone who witnesses it. It creates a wave that keeps moving long after the initial act is forgotten. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, that wave comes back to you 100-fold, carrying 500 motorcycles and a miracle you never saw coming. This isn't just a story about bikers or mechanics or mortgages. It's about what we choose to do when we have nothing left to give, but still choose to give anyway. It's about looking past labels, leather vests, empty bank accounts, circumstances that seem to define us, and seeing the human being underneath. Rosa Delgado could have driven past Diego that night. She was tired. She was struggling. She had every reason to prioritize her own survival over a stranger's emergency. But she didn't. And that choice created a wave that traveled across 4 states, mobilized 500 people, and proved something we all need to remember. Kindness is never wasted. Compassion is never foolish. And the world is full of people who will show up for you if you show up for others. So tonight, tomorrow, whenever your moment comes, choose to see people. Choose to help even when it costs you something. Choose to believe that your kindness matters, even when you can't see the results. Because somewhere, someone is keeping track. Somewhere, someone will remember. And somewhere, a wave is building that will come back to you when you need it most. Be the Rosa in someone's story. And trust that when your moment comes, your army will arrive. That's how we save each other. That's how we save ourselves. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.